Hey guys, Adrian here from the Digital Dojos, and today I have a tutorial showing you how to do a cool little audio MIDI setup with your iMac and cinema display. Now this is virtually how to get sound working on both displays, how to make them one audio channel, essentially speaking. So how to get audio coming out from both your iMac and your cinema display, or if you have multiple cinema displays, that can be the case. If you have maybe two iMacs, that's a random case, but if you have that set up. So in this case, the issue here is I had two multiple monitors. My monitor speakers broke, and I wanted it so that the audio wasn't just coming out of this one or just this one. That way it wouldn't be too right-centered or too left, or too much to the right or to the left, especially because I just sit directly in the middle of the monitors. So I wanted it so that both audio was coming out of both sides, on the left on the iMac, on the right on the cinema display. And it's actually, you can do this in a built-in tool called the Audio MIDI setup. There's going to be a big shout out to an article that I found below, which really helped me to get the basics of this, and I tweaked around. So I'm going to leave that article down in the description below. And again, this can work on various setups with the Apple hardware, whether you have two cinema displays and a MacBook maybe, or an iMac and two cinema displays. In this case, we're setting it up as the iMac and the cinema display on the right and getting audio coming out of both. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump onto the iMac. Alright guys, here we are on my iMac. We're on the main display here, the iMac 27-inch screen itself, and then again, my dual display is that of the LED cinema display, also 27-inch. So what you're going to want to do to set this up is you're going to open up a tool that's actually built into OS X. It's called the Audio MIDI Setup tool. So what I'm going to do here, you can just search for it. Again, Audio, type in Audio here, and you'll get the Audio MIDI Setup. And let's close out of this first so it opens up here on this monitor. Audio MIDI setup. There you go. We're gonna type it in. I'm gonna pull it in over here, and basically you're gonna create what's called an aggregate device. So you're gonna want to know a couple things. If you're using two cinema displays, then they're both gonna be called display audio. You're gonna want to know a little bit about your audio interfaces. So for example, the built-in output, if you're using an iMac, your built-in output is essentially your speakers, unless you have your 3.5 jack hooked up to a speaker system. Now you can also do this with physical speakers. So if you have speakers hooked up to your iMac and speakers hooked up to your cinema display, you can do this as well. It's a little bit more complicated. But again, that we're just focusing in this case on the speakers built internally into each monitor. So again, the built-in output is my iMac display's speakers, the default speakers that come in, the internal ones. While my display audio is my cinema display. If you have multiple cinema displays, then you'll see multiple display audios. So you're going to go in the bottom left here, click the plus button. You're going to want to create an aggregate device like I did here, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove this one, or actually we'll walk through the steps again. Basically, you're going to click your two devices or however many devices you want to aggregate in terms of one speaker here. So in this case, we were talking about the built-in output and the display audio. So you're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to jump to the one I actually created here. You can see I have both of them checked. And then what you're going to do here, you can also click this little drop down so you can see the speakers here. You're going to want to click on Configure Speakers. Now this is where you're going to have to do a little bit of experimentation. Basically, you're going to want to check both these boxes. Stream 1 and 2 has channels 1 through 2, and Stream 2 has channels 3 and 4. Essentially, think of it as a 4-channel speaker setup. Your iMac will be 1 and 2, your cinema display will be 3 and 4. But what you want to do here is set this up accordingly. So depending on how you have your monitor set up, you're going to want to click this left front or right front, and you're just going to play a static sound that's actually pretty loud. So you may want to turn down your speakers before you do that. But essentially, you want to find out which one's your left front speaker. In this case, mine was number 1, and which one is your right front speaker. So that way it knows which side you want to, like let's say your cinema display is on the left, then your left front would obviously be your cinema display. That may be channel 3, for example, if it's your second one. In this case, my iMac is on the left, so I'm going to pick left front 1 because that's my left front speaker on the iMac. And my right front is number 4. It's channel 4 because my cinema display is to the right, and 4th is the farthest speaker to the right, farthest channel to the right. Mixing up my words here. So once you experiment and get that set, you hit done and you'll apply it. And that is your basic setup to get these speakers working in terms of both sound producing out. You're also going to want to go into each speaker, and you may want to tweak the sound because you may get this little unbalanced kind of sound here. You can see my settings. You can try these. These are what I got from the article. Again, this is all dependent on your setup. You may just want to adjust these front, left, front, right, all of that good stuff to kind of balance out the sound. That way you have a balance on your far left speaker. You're going to want that to be even with probably your far right one. You're probably just going to want those to be even. That way it's not overpowering. That way you don't have center heavy or too much audio on the left and not so much on the right coming out of your displays. You want to find that balance. Again, that's going to be up to you. You're just going to change these values. You can mess around with them. And then once you're done, you're going to want to go into your system preferences, open up your sound, and you're going to select audio or aggregate device, or you can rename it, up to you, as your sound preference. But that doesn't stop here. Now, what happens at this point is you won't be able to control your audio normally using the volume button. You're going to get this little thing right here where it doesn't allow you to control it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an app called Soundflower to control that, to set up a way to control your audio a little bit easier. Alright, so at this point you're going to need to install the app called Soundflower. Some of you may already use it if you use it for, it's used for a lot of different things. Basically, it gives you really big, universal control over your audio setup here. So it can be used for a lot of things. Anyways, you're going to launch it. It's called Soundflower Bed when you actually look up the app here. And what you're going to do here is you're going to want to set it to aggregate device. And then what you're going to do is you're going to test if your volume buttons on your keyboard, your modifier keys, if they work. Now, if at first it doesn't work, and make sure you do this on channel 2. You can see here you only want it for channel 2. You just want to set that to aggregate channel, or aggregate device, I should say, and you can, again, rename this whatever you want in the audio MIDI setup. Now, if you ran into issues like me, and this, because the guide is a little bit outdated, there's some issues here and there on newer versions of OS 10. If you click this and you try to adjust your volume and you still have issues, you still have that no volume control, what I had to do was this. I set it to that, and then I clicked on audio. I'm going to exit out of this. I clicked on this, I set it to aggregate device, and then I clicked on audio setup. What it's going to do here is it's going to open up Soundflower, and it's going to open up audio devices under the audio MIDI app. You're going to see once you install Soundflower, it's going to ask you to restart because it's going to give you these new output devices. You're going to want to right click Soundflower second channel here and just say use this device for sound output. You can even tell it to play alerts and sound effects through this device if you want to do that. Basically, this is going to give control to this channel right here, the Soundflower channel. It's kind of like a virtual, I think that's what it's essentially doing, a virtual channel. Because now what I can do is I can use that, and now that Soundflower is set as that, I can control my audio setup with my keyboard. Again, it's through a third-party app, and it just runs in the background, and if it ever crashes, you can just reopen it and get full control over that. It's that simple. Again, Soundflower Bed, you just use that in order to control your media keys like so. So that's how you do it, and that's how you go about it, guys. Again, a huge shout out to the guide. The guide can be found in the video description below. It is a little outdated, so you may have to do a little bit of changes, tweaking, and again, it's always different for everybody's audio setup, but this is the gist of it. And once you have that, you will have sound playing out of both of your left and right monitors, essentially, your cinema display and your Apple iMac display. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to head over to digitaldojos.com for more information and, of course, for more content.